I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
The Belgian opening weekend is behind us. It's time for the Italian spring chapter, starting off with Strade Bianche. Is it a monument? We'll surely discuss that today, and likely for the next 5 years. However, I'm happy to do that today with Ethan, who's becoming something of a podcast staple this season. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Bram. How are you?
I'm doing all right. A little bit sick again. It's kind of a long string of illness. I think having a 1-year-old has something to do with it, especially in daycares. Ethan, you've only missed one recording session this season so far. Still not getting tired of recording with us?
I love to go on the podcast. I get to talk about my ideas about the races, discuss with you guys. It's honestly a real privilege, and I hope the viewers like it as well.
Definitely. Because we've seen some pretty good viewing numbers as well and listening numbers, so I'm sure they like having you around. All right.
Definitely.
Let's start talking about Strade Bianche. Obviously, the big thing this year is the new parkour. It is about 30 kilometers longer, 3 extra sectors of Sterrado, and about 370 meters extra elevation gain. Let's just talk through the major changes. We have 2 times Pinzotto, if I pronounce that right. So we duplicate that one, and we also have 2 times Le Tolfe, and then a new sector. Obviously, like those 2 sectors are really tough, and they're getting duplicated. And then the Santa Maria climb, which is the hardest climb in the race, moved back from 50 Ks before the finish to 80 Ks, which many people expect really is going to cause the race to explode even earlier than it has been. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's honestly a better addition than last year, to be fair to me, because you just want to see action straight from the start, don't you? And with Le Tolfe, I've seen that it's only 12 kilometers to go after the second time round Le Tolfe until the finish line. So that is going to be, someone could go solo, or could really whittle it the field down a lot.
I think with 15 sectors, it's going to be a lot more attritional. I think like seeing larger groups is going to be less and less likely. Also with the weather conditions of this week, it's not likely to rain the day itself on Saturday. But we will see quite a lot of rain in the days before. That will definitely change the surface.
It's going to be, could Pidcock repeat what he did last year due to the wet sectors? It's unlikely, considering Monte San Maria is much further out. But it's about who wants to take risks in those sectors.
Yeah, I don't think like many of them will really be muddy. I don't think it will have rain enough for that. But of course, if it has if there's a really big storm on Friday, who knows? But on Saturday itself, there might be some drizzle, but no real rain. And of course, you have your risk takers like a Thomas Pidcock, who just opened up huge gaps last year by taking some pretty awesome descents. Since we're talking about Pidcock anyway, let's maybe discuss his team, because the INEOS Grenadiers is bringing a very interesting team to this race. I'll maybe run through the list. Of course, you have your Pidcock with number 1. You have Arendsman, Geraint Thomas, which I think is a really interesting name that we need to discuss. Kim Hajduk, Mikael Kwiatkowski, Salvatore Puccio, and Magnus Sheffield. Reason why I want to discuss Geraint Thomas is, first of all, I think originally it was meant to be Bernal here, but they decided to change his schedule after O Gran Camino. Do you expect anything from Geraint Thomas in this race?
I don't think there's any expectations for him, to be honest. He can just go into it without any. His form in Algarve was obviously not the first race, but trying to him to compete against Pogacar for a win, I don't really see it happening, to be honest.
I mean, he's going to try it later in the year in the Giro, and probably in the Tour as well. So yeah, to be fair, early season Geraint Thomas has not been very good for the past couple seasons. I don't expect that to be different this year. So seeing a rider of his stature at this race, it's an interesting
Just
addition
maybe
to his
like
calendar.
building up his fitness, really, I'd say.
Could be, or maybe he just. I don't think he's ridden the race very often. I think maybe
He
once
just
in
wants
20.
to race it.
Yeah, he just feels like racing it. I think in that team you also have a Magnus Sheffield, really interesting for this race. Coming up as a GC rider inside of INEOS, very strong climber, and recently just got his contract renewed, so he's going to be very happy to be going to this race.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be one to watch as well as Tiemann Arensman. He's got a nice diesel engine. Maybe he could produce like a long range attack and just follow them, really.
Do you think? I've often heard with Arensman that he needs like kilojoules in the legs from like fatigue from previous days, so like really in stage races, third weeks. Do you think there could be enough of that in a 1-day race?
With the new added sectors, I think possibly this could be just what he needs, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, could be. I'm very curious to see it. And yeah, let's maybe also talk about the main favorite of this race. I think, well, there really is only one favorite of this race, and that's someone who's starting off the season with Tadej Pogacar. Do you rate his chance at 100% sure to win, or do you think there's other options?
I rate them more than 100%. I'd say 110% he wins. I will promise that he wins. Literally, I'm that confident.
Well, bar any bad luck, of course.
Well, yeah, the bad luck is as long as he avoids that, he should just walk it up the final climb, up the ramp. Let's hope that he doesn't turn into Wout from 2018.
Definitely. But that would be kind of epic as well.
Yeah.
So the team for UAE is also a pretty strong one. Let me just pull it up. I didn't put it in my notes, but I remember it to be quite strong with Pogacar, Del Toro, Baroncini, Kristen, Hirschi, Novak, and Wellens. That is a monument-worthy team, let's say.
That's nearly a super team, I'd say, in terms of monuments. Wellens, Poof, and Jan Kristen as well. He was impressive today in the Italian race. I can't say the name of it. Yeah, Laguelia. Until his descending let him down. So,
of course, there is a lot of descending to do in Strade Bianche as well, so he might struggle there. But seeing Del Toro here, is that potentially something for him, or is this an entire team of domestiques?
I'd say he's the second option in that team, in my opinion. Really, I don't know about Wellens, but it's either him or Wellens as the second option, because Del Toro has that kick you need, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I mean, Wellens has had a great opening weekend. So I wouldn't put it against it, putting in a strong performance. He has that, like long effort power that is also needed for Strade Bianche.
Yeah, his fourth in Classica Jan was proving of that.
Yeah, for sure. Are there actually opportunities for team play within this race? Because it's become more of a climbers race than ever before. Can you work with satellite riders here, or do you just say like it doesn't really matter? Peloton's going to ride their pace and strongest guy wins.
I think you possibly could work with a satellite rider. Yeah, you see teams like Lotto. Lotto have a very strong team, possibly 3 or 4 guys it could go with. Gregard could be a nice satellite option for Van Gils or Van Eyckfeldt in that race.
Yeah, I think Van Eyckfeldt is definitely going to be the rider for them in that race before Van Gils. I think Van Gils is a little bit less of a climber than Van Eyckfeldt. I think Van Eyckfeldt is going to be the preferred option here.
You have Kron as well. He is a very good climber
Oh,
as well.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very strong team for them.
they could pick and choose. In Groupama, Madouar, Gregor is possibly fifth or fourth favorite, I'd say, in the race.
Well, I think that's a little exaggeration.
And
but
I genuinely think he's fifth or fourth favorite, yeah. He is tremendous talent.
talent, sure, but
And he has the ability for it, I think, as well.
oh, maybe the viewers will punish me for this one, but I
Yeah.
don't think he's ready for a podium yet at Strade Bianche. Not with the field that we have here. Like talking about the field, we do have two big names that are missing, that are skipping this race on purpose to be ready for classics later on, which is a really interesting trend. No Wout van Aert, no Mathieu van der Poel. Are you gonna miss him in this race?
Yeah, definitely. You obviously, I like Wout a lot, and Van der Poel. So missing them, you don't get that duel which they always tend to have in every single race that they do. But who will step up and battle Pogacar? That is what I want to see.
Like, what actually are your thoughts about them skipping this race? Because it is becoming a race with more and more of a monument allure, and they're both known for, well, wanting to win a lot of monuments, or trying to at least. Is it bad for them to skip this?
It's not bad for them to skip this because they've obviously both won it before. So to skip it and focus on other goals for Wout is obviously very good. And Van der Poel, I don't know, he's like collecting infinity stones really with monuments. So, and this type of races, we're getting to that about this. Should this race be a monument?
Yeah. I do wanted to bring up a couple of other names. First is going to be Paulus. He's been on the pod before. He's in really good shape in O Gran Camino. He was on a solo break in the last stage, but slid out and crashed out. Injuries are minor, but do you think he can play a role in this race?
Yeah, I definitely believe he can play a role in this race. He has the team that is there to support him, so he could be one to watch. He definitely has all the right things for this race.
Talking about their team, EF Education, Easy Post, you have Carapaz, Healy, Honoré, Petiol, a very strong team overall. I don't know if Paulus is really the leader here, but I can see 3 or 4 potential leaders.
I'd say maybe even the entire team, nearly, apart from Honoré, really.
Oh, I actually think Honoré could do pretty good things here as well, but not in the final, perhaps.
I think we're going to see some nice tactics from them in the race.
And then the last name I also want to bring up was Sergio Higuita. I think he's also a rider to really watch out for. He has the right profile for this race.
Yeah, Higuita and Martinez, the Colombian pair can work together. Obviously, Martinez, if he fixes his inconsistency, we could possibly see him in the top 10, the top 5.
Yeah, let's see if Bora has been able to crack that code that INEOS has not been able to. And are there any other riders that you want to talk about?
I want to pick 2 in particular, Matej Mohoric and Sepp Kuss. Sepp Kuss is one of my picks for the podium.
That's a really interesting one, considering his performance in Cayenne. Like he's really liking these one-day gravel races, and honestly, he's really performing in them. Visma Lease bike is also, well, not surprisingly, bringing a very strong team. Of course, without Wout van Aert, but you have a Sepp Kuss, Ben Tullet, Bart Lemon. You know, and maybe also very important to mention Attila Valter, who had an amazing race last year. A little bit of a contentious race. But Sepp Kuss in one-day races, I really love seeing it in 2024. Podium?
I think a podium, especially considering the extra length, it should perfectly suit him, in my opinion.
Yeah,
We should
sure.
have the engine. Mohoric as well, the descents. Could he do a Pidcock from last year? I don't really. The Monte Samari being 80 kilometers out is.
I mean, there's still plenty other
hindrance.
sectors, right?
So, yeah, there's other sectors, but in terms of descent where he could get away.
Yeah, I think from the moment he has a small gap, he can just also sustain that with his big engine. We saw that he's in good form in the opening weekend with the counterattack in Omloop Nieuwsblad. In the end, didn't really go anywhere. But still, he's clearly in very good form.
So yeah, perhaps in the circuit there is a little descent there. I see, just on the I think the Piazza del Calpo, it's 1.9 kilometers at 5.5%. I see. It's not the Piazza del Calpo. I see.
No.
Do you have the route map?
No, I don't have it open
There is
right
a
now.
there is a little bit of a descent that you could possibly get away there, in my opinion.
In the from the top or
just before the Pinzotto. There was
it's possible.
There's a little thing there. I think he could get away.
Well, I think everyone will watch him for that sector then. You are our UNOX expert. Is there any rider from their team that we need to be watching?
Magnus Cort is obviously Magnus Cort. He could possibly go and do some crazy breakaway thing. You have Odd Christian Aiken, Tobias's brother, Anders, Marcus Hugard. The team is not as strong as I would say if Tobias was there. I don't know if he would get much help, but Hifdeberg is a good addition for this year. I think he was from DSM. That's a nice addition for them in terms of this race for a climber.
All right. And maybe one rider I do also want to talk about is Stephen Williams, the winner of Tour Down Under. Obviously starting off the season with a really good form. Can we expect a continuation, or was that just a one-time thing?
I think you could have a good continuation here. He has, for a climber kind of guy, he packs a real punch in a sprint. So if it came down to it and he was there, you never know. I believe in him.
All right. And let's maybe just wrap up this discussion. Should Strade Bianche be a monument from 2024 onward?
I want to hear your opinion first.
I mean, yes. At this distance, at this difficulty level, at this field of riders that are fighting for it, it ticks every box for me. The only one it doesn't tick is history. But like you shouldn't let all of that you shouldn't let that one thing hold it back. This is an absolutely amazing race, and like riders are making this their prime goal of the season sometimes. Like you have a Tobias Johannesson who's just saying, like, Strade is my main goal for the season. Of course he's not going to be able to fight for it due to injuries, but you pretty much only have that with monuments and Grand Tours, and that means to me Strade is a monument.
I think we should look at it like this: 50 years time, I think the history of this race and the stuff that's going to be produced from this race in terms of like winners and how people have won is all like legendary, really, aren't they? I'd say the way some people have won before. So yeah, I also agree that it should be a monument because the start list of people who come here is just incredible, really, isn't it?
All right, that's it. Strade Bianche has our stamp of monument, and we'll call it that from now on.
Definitely is.
I also do want to talk about the women's race. The women's race is also a slightly different course this year. Not a huge change compared to last year. It's 1 kilometer extra in length, but 9 kilometers more gravel overall. So not that much longer, but quite a bit more tougher with that extra gravel sector. Of course, if we're talking about women's cycling, we have to talk about one team, and that's Z-Works Pro Time. Which rider do you think has the most chances on Saturday?
I'm going for a back-to-back Demi Vollering.
All right.
Who's your pick?
Well, I do want to talk about a couple other riders first, but I think you have a Vollering, you have a Kopecky. I think Kopecky is in a slightly higher form than Vollering right now. At least that's what we've seen in the opening weekend. Vollering has done quite a bit of work there for Kopecky, but she wasn't able to follow. And actually, Kopecky was isolated quite quickly or quite easily in Omloop Nieuwsblad, which was a little odd in my opinion. But some other riders I also want to talk about is Nivea Doma. I think this race is really great for her. It's super difficult for her to win any race, but it would be amazing. I think Shirin van Anrooy and Uttrup Ludwig are also two names to really watch. And I think if I had to give two more, Faulkner, who had she was on the podium last year, but then got taken off due to that. What was it? A glucose meter that she had put on, which was not legal from the UCI. But she won Omloop van Tagelt in really great form, solo with a 1 minute 40 lead. So that's insane. And then Puck Pieterse, already talked about her in the opening weekend preview. I think she delivered there a really great performance in Omloop Nieuwsblad with 8th place, also following the group with Kopecky for a long time.
How do you think the women's race will be won then?
I think it will be a solo. It's such a hard race. And I think Z-Works is just going to blow it up. It's not a race where you can use like a numerical advantage as much unless it's about pace setting. But even then, it's such a hard race. Just the best rider is going to win it. But I think with the surface, you have a Pieterse having maybe a slight advantage as the technical rider that she is coming out of mountain bike and cyclocross. So I have some pretty high hopes for looking at top 5.
Definitely.
All right. Anything you'd like to add for the women's race or the men's race?
I just hope my prediction of Pogacar doesn't backfire severely. No Nairo and green curse around here, so I hope.
Definitely. That's always a little bit dangerous with podcasting where you say, yeah, it's 100% sure he wins, and then, well, there's a crash.
I touch wood. There we go.
Great. Well, then it's my honor to wrap up today's Domestique Cycling Podcast. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi or Twitter. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys, and I hope to see who you guys pick.
Sure. Bye-bye.
I've got the spores, the sickness.